Hello, everyone, and welcome to John and James Live. My name's John Hastings, and I am with my co-host, the one, the only,
the shirt, James CeeLo.
the man in the colourful shirt. It's beautiful out there today, isn't it, James?
Oh, man, Friday, sunshine, blue skies.
It's just when you're
fabulous.
bogged down with all this AI and tech and screens, and then you just go to a nice park. Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? Nature. You can't beat nature. Is that what tech's here for, James? Is it to liberate us? That's our mission, isn't it? To liberate people through tech and AI so we can
get out in nature.
So we can get back to being human. Connection. Yeah, we want to do a little bit of innovation. 100%. We want to. People love getting in the weeds of doing that stuff, but maybe a little less screen time, a little more people contact, little more experiences. Yeah, it's exciting though, isn't it? The potential with all this this AI on the horizon.
Yeah, a little less conversation, a little more action, please. I think someone said that.
I've heard that before.
Who was that? Was that Mr. Presley?
I think so. I think he was onto something. Maybe he was AI sent back from the future.
He was. Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Wow.
So today we're going to talk about, James, is AI? No, it's not is AI. It is live. Is AI the future? We know AI is the future. Is live the future? Because with all this AI generated content, what's left, James? I know we can clone ourselves, can't we? We could probably, it's going to be pretty much spot on, isn't it? It's going to sound like us, look better than us, be more eloquent, know more. So do we need humans, James? Or how are we going to differentiate from all of this AI content and trying to engage with your employees, engage with your customers? What's the deal, James? How are we gonna navigate this?
It's tricky, mate, isn't it? It is tricky, but I don't know that you can compensate for live in real time because, yes, you're going to be able to interact with a bot or an AI-generated avatar, but I still think we've got a ways to go, haven't we, in terms of that human-to-human conversation that you can really tell if you are talking to an AI-generated entity or a human being. We're not there yet. So I don't know. Certainly for the next 5 years, I reckon that you can't compensate for a live interaction between two human beings.
I would say, I don't want to say anything for certain, but I think there's so many nuances to human behavior, isn't there? Just in terms of humor, body language, just tone of voice, even making mistakes is endearing, isn't it? It shows vulnerability, which then creates connection. So when something's so hyper polished, it's like when you do a lot of commercial video, there's a place for it without a doubt. There's so many great videographers out there doing commercial stuff, but I think at one point people became sort of immune to it, didn't they? Desensitized. So as soon as they saw it was too flashy, they switched off. They knew it was a commercial.
Yeah, and it can be too polished, as you said. And I think unless there's some, I kind of liken it to trying to climb up a sort of a rock face. If you're trying to climb up marble, which is highly polished and almost perfect, there's nothing to grab onto. But if you've got a craggy rock face, a bit like mine,
that's a nice.
You've got something to hold on to.
James. I like that.
Do you like that?
That's
I
not
was
a bad
going to go
analogy.
down the plumbing route where you've, which is
we normally do plumbing analogies, but that one was quite nice. But if we look back, James, I'm not going to say that I predicted this whole thing. But I kind of did. I'm just going to give a shout out there to an old friend, Owen, who I messaged him maybe in 2011. And I said, I've got this idea. I said, it's called big faced twit, and it's live streaming everywhere. You know, there's going to be, I said to him, look, there's going to be pop stars live streaming, and you'll be able to see what the pop star sees into the crowd. This is going to be the future. I said it's going to be like Big Brother, Facebook, and Twitter hammered together. I've still got the text message. I'm going to put it out there to prove it. I didn't do anything with it, like most of my ideas. But that was, I think that was around between 2011, I think it was. So it was quite early. And Big Brother was one of those ones where it was live 24/7, and that really did take off, didn't it? And anybody who goes on Big Brother, you're basically printing money when you come out.
I find it fascinating, our kind of need for voyeurism. When you look at YouTube channels, and there's one particular guy who lives in his car, and he'll do like a couple of second shot of himself saying, you know, hi, this is the start of my day. And then everything is then the camera turned around, films his entire day in terms of interactions with other people, what's been happening, all that sort of thing. And people love it. I mean, because it's, you know, an insight into someone's life, you know, that may be very, very different to their own.
Yeah.
And you're kind of getting to live it almost vicariously through somebody else. So it's like we're living our lives, we've got our own daily routines, but to see how other people live their lives, it's fascinating, isn't it? People want to know that, whatever it looks like. And it can be just as simple as turning the camera the other way, and you then get to see from that person's perspective what their day looks like.
It makes a huge difference, James. I think just when you see, it used to be live TV as well, didn't it? On sort of BBC, ITV, and there was that sort of unpredictability about it, which made it quite engaging. If something went wrong, it would be off the cuff. I know there probably was a bit of a minute delay or something like that, but it was kind of live, wasn't it? And it was engaging.
And it's how well you improvise. And that's the quality of the presenter, isn't it? The technique to be able to keep going, whatever, and not to just freeze if everything doesn't go to plan. It's like you've just got to kind of roll with the punches, haven't you?
Yeah. And there's a fear now, they say, with different generations of making mistakes. And on the other hand, we've got the whole Brené Brown about vulnerability. So we've got the fear of making mistakes, and then that sort of coercion into vulnerability, or that feeling that you should be more vulnerable. But I guess live brings those all together, don't they? Because aesthetically, it's how you look, it's how you sound, it's your ums, your ers, making mistakes, being exposed, maybe feeling like you don't know enough. So there's so much in it, but it probably does give that feeling that you know someone truly, rather than a cropped up video where you know they've read it on a teleprompter. It's very slick, looks great, but there's something a little bit more, I would say, personable when it comes to live content. Would you say, James?
Yeah, I think there used to be a time, mate, that we went to clubs and bars and things like that, and we would sort of meet people and go over to talk to them after. I know, as weird as it sounds, that used to happen.
You're talking crazy now, James.
I know. It's a far-fetched flight of fancy there.
You're telling your age.
So we used to kind of observe people and watch them in public, which sounds properly weird, doesn't it? But you could see their mannerisms and the way they interacted with each other, and whether they were funny, whether they were animated, and how other people would react to them, and like make a decision actually as to whether that person would be someone we'd like to meet or not.
100%.
And now you kind of got this situation where, you know, if it is highly curated, if it's the 1,000th photograph or the 100th take of that particular version of what you're getting, you're not entirely sure actually what's going on underneath the surface. Whereas with live, there isn't any do-overs.
There's
You're
no
getting to
do-overs, is
see
there?
in real time what that person's doing, how they're responding to a particular question, and you go, oh, yeah, that didn't quite sit right, or that was a bit of a, I'm not sure how they responded to that. So, you're kind of laying yourself bare, and it can be really uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, it's no different to having a conversation with somebody face to face. You've got to do what you've got to do, and you've got to be who you are. You can't be anybody else.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like being in a boardroom or going on a date. When you're in person, aren't you? You can't escape
Yep.
it, or any live events.
Yeah.
But what we see, James, is I think possibly companies will start leaning towards the live. I've been listening to Gary Vaynerchuk quite a bit, and he's definitely on the trends, on the cusp of everything that's happening. And the new craze at the moment is probably going to be TikTok live shopping. So that's going to be huge in the future. But I guess for us older generations, I'm 41, you're 52 now. We didn't really see the live stream generation, but live is very much commonplace to the youngsters. They're live all the time. If you heard of some of the other platforms out there where these young live streamers, they're streaming for like 24 hours playing computer games and things like that. So do you think this next generation, we're going to be a little bit surprised by how big live streaming is, being from an older generation?
I am and I'm not. I don't know that I'm surprised by much, really. I suppose it comes down to your sort of mindset. It's like, well, if you can see a grain of something that's happening, then it's not a huge leap to then see how that can transpire into something else. I don't know that I would be surprised by that at all, to be honest. And I think based on what we've just talked about, the fact that, we've now got a situation where you're not entirely sure what you're looking at is real. So what's the counter to that? What's the antidote? And I can only see, certainly, like I said to begin with, is for the next, God knows, I can't predict it, but how many years we've got that is actually going to be a valid way that that you're getting a source that is true, that if it is live, you can interact with it, you can ask questions in real time and get an answer in real time. So if somebody puts a comment up or a message up, we then, put it up on the screen, we discuss it in real time. So it just enables somebody, whoever is on the show, to respond to that particular comment, whether it's from a member of staff or from a potential customer, but they're going to get that absolutely real.
Yeah, 100%. And things like courses, James, the actual number of people that complete courses are very, very low when it comes to online courses. If they're left to their own devices to do it, on one side, there's the benefit of you can do it like as and whenever suits you. The downside is that rarely people actually complete them. So if there's live elements,
a very small percentage.
Yeah. But live element helps people in terms of showing up. If something's live, there'll be a much higher likelihood of them showing up when they're, especially if it's educational or beneficial to them. Then all of a sudden the adherence goes up quite radically, I would say.
Yeah.
Would you reckon, James?
Well, if you can add in some accountability to that as well. So it's, knowing that maybe there's other people within your team or, people that that are going to be there. And if you're not there, then there's that kind of element of judgment, I suppose, to an extent. And then that FOMO of not missing out, so that you're actually integrated into something. It's that tribal element too, that you don't want to be the one that had missed out on that everybody's then going to be talking about. So, there's that element as well, I think, that goes really well with this as well. So shall I just kind of run through? We've created a PDF, which is really easy to share. And we've used the acronym of LIVE, so LIVE. So, really talking about what a business can do, a corporation can do in terms of engaging with their team, for example. So, L is for learn. So, we can evaluate trends and data, any challenges that you have as a business, those opportunities that might pass you by, for example.
Yeah. So
So
these are
that
going to be,
everyone,
so both of them, James, there will be one that will be internal.
yes,
So
and one
more employee
external,
engagement, and then one's customer engagement, which
yeah,
is external. So we've got two
yeah,
acronyms for the live. So the one
yeah.
you're saying now is the internal one. So this is things
So
that we can
connect with
do.
your team, for
Yeah.
example.
So
So if you're a
learn.
business leader, for example, you want that sort of transparency within the business. You want to be able to, transmit or to communicate your vision for the business, to enable your employees to get on board with the mission statement, for example. This is a way in which that can be done.
Yeah.
So
So
the
that
first one
learn
was
side,
learn.
James, as well, that
Mm,
you got to think there's so much change within the business landscape, internally and externally, that you need to be on the cusp of what's going on. You need to know what your competitors are doing. You need to know what new tech is out there. And it's moving at breakneck speed,
this
James. And
it
even
is.
just
It
being able
really is.
to go from geek speak, I would say, to layman's terms,
Yeah,
because there's a lot of people within organizations where the tech people are disconnected from the actual, potential salespeople, and they've
yeah,
just
and
got a completely
that's a
different
really
skill
interesting,
set.
and that's a really interesting point. What I've seen and experienced, and I'm sure you've experienced the same thing. I do it myself. If I don't understand something, I won't always say that I don't understand,
Yeah,
because again, you don't want to be seen or perceived as somebody who is either stupid or that your potentially your job is at risk because you don't have that level of, so you don't want to draw attention to yourself. So
yeah,
this is exactly it. It's the conduit to be able to put all this technical jargon into easy to understand terminology that can then be implemented, and then everybody feels like they're on the same sheet, that don't feel stupid. It can be disseminated in a way that they can then understand it and implement it.
yeah. Because we had a conversation. Well, I had one with a 300 employee startup, or I think there was about 3 years into that. And he just said, because of the speed of change, some of the directors at the top, say in their 50s, 60s, were losing touch with what was actually happening on a base level, and not
Mm,
really comprehending or understanding it. So I think you need the bridge between what the techies are doing and potentially what the market wants and what
yeah.
everyone else is doing within that business. So it's probably never been harder to keep up, has it, James? It's like the chat
I'd
GPT is
agree.
coming out, a new version all
But
the time.
I fit perfectly into that sort of dynamic. At the age that I am, it's
Yeah.
like, but I'm kind of, I am interested by it, so it's less of a chore for me,
Yeah.
because I'm fascinated with how things, certainly in what we're dealing with here is health tech, and the way in which it's enabling us to live longer, that health span uh, aspect of living longer but living healthier lives, and how tech is going to influence that as well. It's just going to give us the data that we need to know that we're moving in the right direction. So it's all measurable. What you can't measure, you can't manage. That old sort
Yeah.
of aspect, that old chestnut.
And then what
So
does people need to learn as well, James, in terms of upskilling? I guess you need to bring to the table, okay, where are we short at the moment? What needs to happen? So that's where you're looking at the challenges, the gaps, where people need to upskill, where people could learn. Because you can
mm,
really supercharge people with AI, can't you? You could add some things to it, simplify it, and then they can
yeah.
be like 3 employees in one all of a sudden.
And the flip side is it can be overwhelming. So how do you
Yeah.
find that sensible kind of middle that you say, well, this is something that's going to make that boat go a lot faster, but it's not going to throw you into a flat spin.
Definitely.
So, I think that's a
when it
huge
comes to
aspect
that, so we've got the learn as the first one. So that's really, opening our eyes to the landscape, and then we move on once we can define the problems, which is, well, Einstein will say it's the most difficult thing to do, isn't it? When coming up with any solutions, the hardest part is identifying what the actual problem is. But then from that comes potential ideation, which will be the second part. So
Exactly
it's
right.
coming up with solutions. Who's responsible, who can do what ideas will come to the table. And I think it's good that with employees, they own it. You don't want to tell somebody what to do. I'm just amazed in general how ridiculously smart humans are, aren't they? If you give a group of humans like what Apple did with Steve Jobs, he was like the orchestra, wasn't he? Just saying, right, I need this done. I want it done faster, better. And then you've got all these people in the background just creating genius work, really. It's just incredible.
And that's a belief system as well. I think he created a belief system that it could be done.
It could be done, yeah.
I think, if you're in that situation where you think this is impossible, can't be done, then that will be the outcome. But if you've got somebody there saying it can be done, we just need to figure it out.
Yeah.
And, it's incredible. I mean, there's so much written about him, but let's not get off topic.
Yeah.
But
so ideation,
certainly ideation is the second.
Yeah, it moves into innovation. So that's like the process of innovating. And even when you're ahead, like we've mentioned before, Blockbuster Video, I was listening to a podcast with the former CEO of Netflix, and he just said, look, I get it with Blockbuster. They was earning billions. Say you're earning 6 billion, and then you say, right, this could be on the horizon, but it's only going to make 2 million a year. It's hard for them when something's working to then switch to something that potentially is not. I know you can't do that with every single opportunity, but you got to keep your finger on the pulse, haven't you, with what's going on.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, mate, as well, isn't it? When we look back at history and go, how could they have possibly passed this opportunity up?
Yeah.
But you can absolutely understand.
And they were close. They were close to buying Netflix at one point. So there's probably many a company that could be in a similar position, really.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to
what could have been?
Just keep your wits about you.
So the V is value. Let's move on to the V, moving swiftly ahead.
Value. I wanted it as value rise, which is the process. I've made that word up.
So valorize is a word, and you've created value rise.
Value rise, yeah, which is the process.
Valorize is a word.
Adding value. Is there another word for that? It had to begin with V. So, but we went back to value. I don't think it's a word though.
Just make it up as we go along.
Is it valorize? Is that the word?
Valorize. VALORIZE. So it's to add value or to recognize the value in something.
I was more thinking about the actual process.
I had to look it up.
So in terms of adding value, I guess when you're coming up with any idea, there's frameworks that you can use for adding value. And we've looked at, they're all quite similar, whether it's the sort of Russell Brunson or the Alex Hormozi or Daniel Priestley. There's a lot of people out there who've got frameworks for value, but it's decreasing time and effort, increasing the dream outcome and certainty of it happening. That's the funnel that which you've got to drive your ideas through. Is it going to make it quicker?
Summary you just did there, mate. I like that.
Thank you, James.
Thank
you.
You did well.
Is it going to make the boat go faster? Is it going to be better, more convenient? So Netflix, you can see, is just making things more. It's just made things more convenient. You don't have to go out, get in your car, park up, go to Blockbuster. The video's not there. Then you got to take it back. Now it's a million videos at the click of a button for a subscription model, which is like the holy grail of these businesses now. So how can you channel your products and services through those frameworks? And that's what the goal is, and sort of reference back the learning and the ideas to how can you add more value. So people talk about value all the time, and they say it's easier to increase the dream outcome and the certainty, but the time and the effort, lowering the effort and speeding up the time, is where the real money is at. Where the big money is at. So how can you make it easier? So if you're a food company, it would just be tubes, just tubes straight into your mouth, straight into the
straight in the eyeball.
Straight in the eyeball. They literally. How can we take this to the nth degree in terms of speed and less effort? You just don't get out of bed. That's I think that could be the trajectory. But yeah, hopefully, like we said at the beginning, the AI and our mission, James, is to help companies utilize their tech and their AI to liberate people so we can get back to being human.
A happier workforce. How cool would that be?
Oh, it would be amazing, wouldn't it? Imagine that. You do your innovation stuff, but you're not, bogged down with housing and emails and stuff and infinite growth. I know it's a thing, but I think we can do better with that one. So that's value.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Oh man, it's possible. And maybe if we can get on the whole longevity thing, we're going to see it. Could be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years maybe. Yeah. Let's see. It's moving fast. I can
feel my heart rate increasing and slowing down at the same time.
At the same time.
It's quite a weird feeling.
So then we move on, Joe. So we've got learn, ideate,
value, and experiment.
Experiment.
What do you mean by experiment?
So this is where I didn't do a lot of at the beginning, and I think it's more of a fear of failure. And good old Jeff Bezos at Amazon does this a lot. He makes decisions. Normally successful people make decisions very quickly and they experiment. I know Facebook do it as well. They use a section of their audience and then they trial some type of software or code or whatever they're doing. They get feedback and then they either iterate or sometimes they release products. I know Amazon have released products, and even Apple, I think, with their big headphones, I think they're going to bin them. I think they've tested it, didn't really work, and then they've changed it. But they're running experiments all the time. Even when it comes to marketing, the top marketers are running A/B testing pretty much on everything. They might have 50 offer pages. They're testing the wording. They're testing, the color schemes. They're testing the button position. They're testing the UX, how the website flows. Could be just the idea. It could be just pushing the idea out to different people. It could be pushing the idea out to the rest of your team, the company, and just trying to experiment as quickly and efficiently as possible. And I know in Silicon Valley, they've got a sort of rhetoric around, failing forwards. It's okay to fail. Not so much, I would say, in the UK. I think that's probably where we're lagging a little bit, I would say, in terms of our.
I think we've still got a bit of a stigma about failure, because I know it's like failing and fail fast.
Yeah.
That's another one. It's the failing forward. But if you're going to, if it's something that's not working, then kill it quick.
Yeah.
And move on to the next thing. You know, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or maybe it's a little bit more fear based. You know, it's
Yeah, it could
interesting,
be
isn't
like
it? But that's
like
the
a
holy
minimum
grail, though, isn't it?
viable product, couldn't it? Could be an MVP to get out
Yeah,
there, test the concepts. And Daniel Priestley says, right, get waiting lists, get people excited, see what the vibe is. You got to see what the vibe is with these ideas. And then if you get the green lights and it's going well, then double down, extend the experiment, and then it could be full rollout over there. So I think that experimentation is probably going to have to be embedded within the culture, and there's got to be some speed around it because agility is going to be key moving forwards. Otherwise, you're gonna get left behind, aren't you? There'll be some
yeah.
kid in his garage who's going to bring down some billion-dollar business.
We see
So
it time and time again,
that's
don't
what
you?
we would
It's
say. So that live acronym,
Airbnb.
James, that is for
Mm,
internal.
mm.
That's what you could do internally with a company. When
So
it comes
it's
to
almost kind of radical transparency, isn't it? That's sort of what that
yeah,
represents.
yeah,
That you can communicate what's going on within the business to your workforce so that everybody feels like they're pulling together in the same direction.
yeah,
In a
collaboration,
nutshell.
connection, clarity, bringing things down to layman's terms, seeing where the product market fit is, experimenting, and then implementing execution. And there will be people across these teams that have strengths and weaknesses in each. And really, for us, James, we're the facilitators. We are the voices of reason, keeping people uh, on their toes, but just allowing them to show their
With a
genius.
reassuring edge.
Yeah, they'll know more than us. We just ask the right questions, like a good therapist, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
Just like a
yourself
good
well, don't
therapist.
you? You know yourself well. So, in terms of the second bit, James, when we say in the live acronym for external, which is what we would say, it could probably come into the personal branding side, the external. So, it's how can you connect with whether you're a B2B business or you're a B2C business? How can you connect authentically at scale? And there's not many ways you can do that unless you're at a live conference, you're doing podcasts, you're doing potential recorded video for YouTube and social media. Yeah, you might have your corporate videos on your website, but live can come into that. And because times are moving so fast, live can be something that you do on a regular basis to keep people up to date, because you might have done a podcast in 1976 when they didn't even exist, and no one's, whatever you said then or whatever you thought then is not what's happening today. So this is I would say it's an ongoing process, wouldn't you, James?
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say it's organic, but then I stopped myself because I disappointed myself when I said it in my head. So no, but it is, and again, that ties into the fact that things are moving so quickly, and it's like yesterday is not today, and tomorrow is going to be very different to today. So how do you keep yourself relevant? I think that's the key thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
and we've tied it to what we've called authentic leadership. So that word obviously has been banded about, authenticity, the vulnerability side. We've done videos on this topic as well. But we can see with companies that have possibly an authentic personal brand or a personal or somebody behind it, probably starting from Virgin with Richard Branson. He was an iconic person who was doing the personal brand inside, when people really bought into him as a character. So it allowed him to just diversify in so many directions. We've got people like the Kardashians, where each one of them could release fresh air and make $1 billion business, couldn't they, from it?
I mean, that's just going back to Richard Branson. I mean, I remember he dressed up as a Virgin Airways air hostess and, full beard, lipstick, and in their uniform. And it was like you think his credibility would have gone through the ground, wouldn't you? You'd have thought,
Yeah.
what a ridiculous thing for a grown man, somebody, but whether it's the nature of the man, his persona, his personality, didn't do him any damage whatsoever. It was just like, well, it's Richard being Richard. And the publicity was fantastic around it, sort of abseiling down buildings or jumping off, hot air balloons or doing whatever he does. It just enhances the fun aspect of him. So
Yeah.
I think we're also sort of tightly wound up in appearing like we are the very sort of essence of corporate and reliability, and yet he's able to do those kind of things and come out on top.
Yeah,
So
very
it's
so
a good
even,
example. But
Elon
it's the
Musk, I know it's
personality.
getting,
People
yeah,
buy from people fundamentally, and it's like if you can transmit your personality to a wide audience, it's going to be engaging. It's not this boring kind of corporate video type sort of stuff where you just sat there and you're trying to tell people what it is that you do, and you're being interviewed in a style, and maybe you're reading an auto cue and all. It's just like,
yeah,
it's a little bit kind of, I find it uncomfortable to watch. And I'm like, come on, guys, we can do better than this. It's just kind of injecting some kind of person. It's like, why did you get into this in the first place? What is it that you love about what you do? What are you trying to achieve? And
yeah,
that I think you can only really get with this kind of live interaction where you can sort of, we can bring the energy. We can say certain things like, yeah, but why? Why do you do what you do?
100%.
And they have
Yeah.
to answer in an honest way.
It makes
That's
such
the
a
key thing
difference,
to me.
doesn't it, James? You feel the energy, you feel the vibe,
Yeah,
they're being themselves, they're being a bit vulnerable, they're not
yeah.
perfect human
Don't
beings.
don't
They're
just tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me what I
yeah,
really,
the
give me the honest,
challenges,
the
the
true
ups, the
answer.
downs, you buy into the story, the storytelling of
We're
the
not
whole
perfect. We all
situation.
know none of us are
People
perfect.
love
We're all
it.
fallible,
And
100%.
with that, and trying to differentiate yourself now is going to be harder because there will just
Yeah.
be a swath of
Oh, swath. I
online
love it.
AI content,
Oh,
won't there, James?
you and your swath.
Everywhere, swaths, just swaths
Oh,
everywhere, and that's where you're gonna pierce through. So that's what we've put the first one on this authentic leadership in terms of the live acronym for external, which will mean customer engagement. So we're talking about potentially people within the businesses. It could be employees, could be the CEO, could be the founder. But it's having them face the B2B or the B2C. And we're going to start off with lead. So that authentic leadership is what we're looking for. Who are
yeah.
you? Why do you do it? How do you get involved with this? What's the mission? What's your core values? What do you
Yeah.
want to
Why are we
achieve from this?
interested?
Yeah,
Why are we interested in this?
beyond the profits. I know the profits and quarterly profits are important, but how are you going to change the world here? What are we going to do? How are we going to create excitement and get things moving?
Yeah.
That's what we want. And the second part, which ties into that, is to inspire.
Inspire.
You want to inspire people because it is a belief, James, isn't it? Everything is a belief. It's like Henry Ford
I
said,
want to know this is going to change my life.
whether you think you can or you can't, both are true. So you might as well just pick one. If you believe you can, you might as well just go for it. Aim for the moon, fall among the stars. God, I've got a few in the back pocket today, haven't I, James?
Wow, mate, you are.
Yeah. So we've got lead, inspire. Thirdly, we've got the voice. You got to sing, James, as a leader. We're not talking about the TV program. We're talking about finding your voice and having a voice, a bit of thought leadership. I know they like that word in the whole consultancy sphere, bit
Yeah.
of thought leader. Some
Jargon.
people think it's very cringy, but
Yeah. I think we need
it's
to
a
break
thing.
that down, don't we? And not,
Yeah,
or deconstruct that. Let's
yeah.
not use jargon.
But the voice side, I see it as, you know, finding your voice, and that takes time. And that's why live isn't a one-off podcast. It's not a one-off corporate video you did 5 years ago. It's an ongoing process of you adapting to a very fast changing world. And that's how I
Yeah.
see you.
And you're keeping your client base up to date. You know, a newsletter is good. It's two-dimensional. Maybe you'll open it, maybe you won't open it. But a
Yeah.
live conversation, very, very different. Very different.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to hear from the person, you want to hear up to date views, knowledge, because sometimes it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to think that, you know, 2 years ago you believed something wasn't quite right, you tried it, you tested it, you experimented, and you decided to go for something else.
It's a beautiful honesty to that.
So I think it's, you know, they say it's, you learn a lot from when things are not going so well. So sometimes if things are flying from you, sometimes that's when you have got blind spots, because, you know, you've maybe stumbled onto something and it's just working really well. You think that's going to last forever. I've been there, and but I knew in the back of my mind it was going to come to an end at some point in that business model. But you sort of ride the wave and you start to relax.
In denial.
Yeah, and then things change, things evolve, and then it slips, and then you can fall behind. So it's good to just be. It's exciting to be on the cusp, learning, creating, having a voice, and that thought leadership really ties into the personal branding. And there can be personal brands within your business as well. It could be your CEO, or there's a new one, CAIO, which is Chief Artificial Intelligence
Officer.
Becoming quite popular. The old CMO, CFOs. There's all the C-suites, isn't there? There's the C-suites, but then there's also managers, directors in departments, and there's people on the front line. You might want to get people on the front line to describe what's going on.
That's gold dust.
Yeah, shout out to my friends at Simply Lunch, because I know they're doing some great stuff, and they're always boosting up their, you know, employees on the front line that are doing things, and they're working really hard. And we want a great life for everyone, James. At every touch point of a business, really, the business should be to liberate humanity. That's the business vehicle. So you want everyone in that business to have a great time. If you're at work all the time, most of your day, then why not have it a great, happy, exciting, productive environment?
And I think sometimes that mission statement gets lost in the noise, doesn't it? Your sort of day-to-day running of stuff is just, you know, it's a thankless task at times, and it's hugely challenging, and, you know, easy for somebody outside it to go, well, you need to be doing more of this, but how can we facilitate something that can be more seamless, easier, and less hassle, but can be done on a regular basis so that everybody benefits from that mission statement and knowing where this business is going? That if everyone's on board with it, they can be, again, back to the number 2 on the list was inspire. If you can be inspired to move in the same direction, anything's possible, right?
And that's a great point, James, you just made there, in terms of sometimes you can be, you know, you can't see the wood through the trees. You're just too close to something to see it. You've been in there for too long, or you're potentially an employee and you don't, or a C-suite member, and you don't want to rock the boat. So having externals to facilitate things who, you know, they haven't got any real emotional attachment to it. They can see things more objectively, ask very open and honest questions, and then just bring a lot of cohesion. Isn't that right, James, on that one? So lastly, so we got lead, inspire, voice, and lastly, which is the big
Engage.
word, engage. So engagement is the center of pretty much all online activity at the moment, isn't it? You want to engage your clients, prospects, you want to engage potential talent to join you on your venture to take over the world. So you've got to be engaging. You've got to, create some type of attention, because attention is the new currency of the economy. And you want people to be interested in what you've got to say, don't you, James? So I think
Totally agree.
that's a
Totally
pretty
agree.
good one. What have I put on here? This isn't passive content. It's a shared interactive experience that builds long-term relationships. And
Wow.
that's what you want, really, isn't it, James? In any business, really, you don't want the one sell type of business. You don't want to be the restaurant on a seaside front where tourists come, they eat once, you're never going to see them again. So sometimes the service is a bit off. Shout out to people in the seaside restaurants who are doing well and they've got great restaurants, but people know that can happen. They don't care as much if you go to a locals place where everyone goes all the time and all the locals go to, then all of a sudden they say the food's amazing, the service, everything's amazing, because it's a repeat buy business, and you don't want to be attracting new clients in all the time and have massive attrition in the business. You want to have high levels of retention with your customers.
And
And
doing the
that's
simple
where,
things really well. That's what I see a lot, is that we can overcomplicate things. But actually, if you do the simple things really well and consistently, those are the things that last long in the memory.
definitely. And yeah, engagement, it's huge, and that's what live can bring to the table. It can be engaging if you accompany it with very strategic articles and you drive anticipation for live events, or if people know they're coming, they put them in the diary. Create captivating headings.
Whip them up
You
into a frenzy.
Yeah, you get people excited about what you're going to say. They're waiting for you. They're waiting to hear what you've got going on, and it can be great for, like we've talked about as well, and we've talked with quite a few investors now, to say, look, we could be the bridge between some of these companies and potentially, high level investors. So engaging, you're in front of people. You could be instead of speaking to a Dragon's Den, a few investors around a table. At one point we might have 100, 500 investors on a live all at the same time, and your company's all of a sudden batting investment off. You're having to say,
Wow.
and that goes back to the Daniel
How cool would
Priestley
that be?
thing. You're oversubscribed. You're creating that sort of tension, aren't you, in terms of the supply and demand? And if you've got a lot of people hearing what you're doing and you're
Yeah.
creating a noise.
Yeah. And you know as well as I do that if you're going for investment, it's not pretty much ever about the product necessarily. It's about the team that are being invested in. The product is the product that can be changed. The team
And the
can't.
person, yeah, they really buy
So the
into
person
people, don't
involved,
they? Yeah.
it's absolutely fundamental. So I think there are people that unfortunately go into, and I was one of them, because we went for Series A investment a couple of years ago, and we didn't have our shit together. We thought the product was great, and we thought, yeah, this is going to be a breeze. We'll go in there. Yeah, they'll give us what we're asking for. We're after a couple of million, no problem. And it was like, no, we just
Yeah.
failed.
How many
So
times we see it on Dragon's Den where people just haven't got their numbers
yeah,
together? They just
but
haven't.
it's the problem is almost if you've got a fantastic product that overrides everything else. You just think, well, they'll clearly see that this is amazing and will want to sign up straight away. But you've got to have both, but you've got to have it weighted more in terms of you as an individual and your team and the credibility and the energy that you bring to it than the actual product itself. The two have to go hand in hand. But I think if you hide behind a fantastic product and don't have that, then you're going to struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is
In
something
my
where
humble opinion.
investors can really, help with these companies, whether they're, mentoring, they're giving advice, talking about, what they're looking for in investments. I know most of the time they could be invested in multiple things. They know maybe a high percentage are not going to work out, but they're looking for that one that will come
Yeah.
through, and that's quite normal. It can be quite hard to predict sometimes. So I think there's a lot of collaboration that can just be between the two, helping each other out. People need money to get these ideas off the ground. Some of the AI stuff maybe it's going to decrease in price when it becomes more accessible, and it'll become cheaper and cheaper to do. But I reckon the upsides potentially could be high for some companies. It's just so hard to predict now, isn't it, James? Because it's changing so rapidly. You could say it's probably never going to be more competitive, potentially. Difficult to say.
Yeah. It is
But
difficult. It is difficult. But
you've got to join
there's some serious tools out there to use to facilitate all of this.
But communication, this is what we're facilitating with live events. Obviously,
we just
you can
love talking.
pre-record them. We like asking questions. We're just being curious. And sometimes when you're naive on a subject, it's like you probably see it with your kids. I know Elon Musk said it about his kids. They ask sometimes the questions that need to be asked that you've sort of brushed past. And that's when it's good to have other people come in and say, look, I'm not quite understanding that. Or can we make that a little bit more concise? What can we do with this to make it a bit more energetic, more captivating, simpler? Maybe you need to use some frameworks. So there's a lot can be done on that side,
and
James.
I think I'm okay now at this stage in life of coming across as somebody who's stupid.
Yeah.
Who doesn't understand. Yeah. I'm all right with that. I think my ego is dissolved sufficiently that I can actually say, you know what, don't get it.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Yeah. And if we're like that, then it probably encourages other people to be like that if they're within the company and they're just like, man, this is
don't get it.
This is a little bit over my head. I think I need to.
Yeah.
We need to simplify this, or change something to get that message across. But I think we'll leave it for there, Jet.
I think that's a perfect place to end it.
I think so. Well done. That is the live. That is today's live. About live.
The live times 2.
So get in contact. We'll put we're working with health tech companies at present. That could expand, but put your email, get in contact with us through DMs on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you about what we can do. Thank you very much, James Selo.
Right, thank you, Jonathan Hastings.
Enjoy the rest of your day, people. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Much love.